Good afternoon. Let the record show that it is now 12 p.m., Wednesday, May 25th, 2022. I call to order this public hearing conducted by Maryland Department of Transportation, Maryland Transit Administration, also known as MDOT MTA, as required by Title VII of the Maryland Transportation Article. The MTA is a division of the Maryland Department of Transportation and one of the largest multimodal transit systems in the United States. MDOT MTA operates local commuter buses, light rail, metro subway, Maryland area regional commuter train service, and comprehensive paratransit system. MDOT MTA also manages the taxi access system and directs funding and statewide assistance to locally operated transit systems in each of Maryland's 23 counties, Baltimore City, Annapolis, and Ocean City. Good afternoon. I'm Ambreen Qureshi, the MDOT MTA's Customer Relations Manager, serving as the hearing officer today. I welcome you to this virtual public hearing, and I thank you for taking the time to attend. Please note that all attendees are in listen-only mode. We will unmute those who are registered to provide testimony when it is their turn to speak. All testimony today will be audio only. Today's virtual public hearing is number 2 of 3 to accept testimony pertaining to MDOT MTA's proposed changes to CityLink, LocalLink, and Express Bus Link. The proposed changes are scheduled to go into effect on Sunday, August 28, 2022. Full details of the proposed service changes can be found online at mta.maryland, fully spelled out, .gov/fall 2022. The full proposal is also available for public review in the lobby of the transit store located at 6 St. Paul, Baltimore, Maryland, 21202. To request printed material or the printed proposal in an alternate format or language translation, please contact the Transit Information contact number at 410-539-5000. MDOT MTA is committed to ensuring no individual is excluded from participation in or denied the benefits of its transit services and programs on the basis of race, color, or national origin as protected by Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Media inquiries should be directed to the Office of Communications and Marketing through our main number 410-767-3936. The procedures for this hearing are as follows. As stated, all attendees are in listen-only mode and on a brief time delay caused by our live stream to MDOT MTA's YouTube channel. If you have registered to give testimony, you will be called on one at a time in the order you have entered the hearing and then unmuted. If you have not pre-registered to give verbal testimony during this hearing and decide you would like to speak, you will have the opportunity once all those who registered have spoken. After all the pre-registered speakers have shared their comments, the person presiding over the meeting will ask if there is anyone else wishing to speak. At that point, you will need to digitally raise your hand by pressing *9. If on the phone and with the on-screen prompts if logged in. You will be called in an order of raised hands. At this time, you will be asked to state your name and zip code and make your public comments. Any individual may speak for themselves or, if duly authorized, for any local civic group, organization, club, or association, subject to the rules provided herein. If representing a group, its name and address should also be provided. Individuals providing testimony will have 3 minutes to speak. Elected officials and those representing organizations will have 5 minutes. A brief tone will sound to let you know that you have 60 seconds remaining to speak. When your time is up, you will be alerted verbally and on screen. For this hearing, all statements must be related to the subject matter as described in the proposed service changes. The role of the hearing officer is strictly to facilitate testimony. The hearing officer cannot respond to questions while the hearing is in progress. These proceedings are recorded by a court stenographer who will create transcripts of the hearing. For this reason, each individual must speak clearly. In the event all those who have pre-registered to give testimony have spoken and no one has indicated they would like to speak, the hearing officer will call a recess until someone registers or enters the hearing to testify, or until it is time to adjourn. MDOT MTA will accept prepared statements, additional documentation, or literature pertaining to the proposed service changes. Through Monday, June 27, 2022, written statements must include a proper name and address to be included in the official hearing record. Written statements or documents may be submitted in the following ways. The first option is via USPS, mail to MDOT MTA, Office of Customer and Community Relations, 6 St. Paul Street, Baltimore, Maryland, 21202. The second option is to email comments to hearingcomments@mdot.maryland, fully spelled out, .gov with written testimony as the subject heading. And finally, you may visit mta.maryland, fully spelled out, .gov/fall2022 to submit an electronic form or to download a comment form to print and mail. All testimony will be considered when making final decisions. For the record, notices regarding this hearing were published in several local newspapers. If you wish to review the list of newspaper, please contact Transit Information Contact Center at 410-539-5000.
We will now begin accepting testimony. Those who have registered to speak will be called in the order in which they have entered the hearing, and then people who are not pre-registered will be invited to share testimony. We will pause for a short time to accommodate the live stream delay. In an effort to provide everyone the opportunity to comment, testimony will be limited to 3 minutes per individual speaker. And at the end of those 3 minutes, we will ask you to conclude your comments. At this time, there are no pre-registered speakers in attendance. If there is anyone who would like to speak, please indicate that by virtually raising your hand. If you've joined via telephone, please press *9 to raise your hand. And if you've joined online, please use the on-screen prompt to raise your hand. Please make sure to say and spell your full name and state your zip code for the record before beginning your testimony. Our first individual to give their testimony today will be Marlon Hall Jr. So you should now be able to unmute and go ahead.
All right, you can hear me, right?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So my name is Marlon Hall Jr. I live at zip code is 21229. Bus operator out of Northwest Division. So I'm just curious, like, even if we give out a public testimony, is it going to affect how you guys going to change the plans or anything? You know, it's not like, you know, the plans is already set in place that even if we give out a testimony, it's kind of like hearsay or something like that. Like I said, I mean, I can go through the list of all the routes and stuff, but like I said, I'm not going to have no time to speak about it in 3 minutes. So I guess I can just give, email or something like that. But that's all I just want to say. Like, if I as a person was giving out the testimony of what could be done here, what could be changed, what probably doesn't need to be changed, is it going to affect the final plan when it goes in effect? Or is it,
Sure. Well, what I can say at this point is that all comments will be taken into consideration related to the service changes. So if you would like to give testimony today, your time can be reset to give your testimony. So would you like to do that?
I mean, to be honest with you, like I said, I could probably have like 10 minutes, but I mean, because I could go through everything, that I could probably go through everything, but I mean, like I said, unless I'm the only one here, but if there's other people here, then, because I could pretty much go through the entire list, since, I could list out things I could, probably need to be changed or what doesn't.
Well, we can't respond to questions at this time. So if you would like to, provide comments in the time that you have, we'd certainly welcome you to do that. And you can also provide additional comments out via the website or the phone number that was given. Okay.
I mean, I can probably run down a couple things that I know I can probably do in maybe 3-4 minutes. But let me see. Let's get into it. Okay, so as far as like the quick lane 40 pilot, is there a possibility of that 40 being pushed to the summer to actually test it before going to full effect for the fall changes?
We can't respond to any questions at this time.
Okay, all right, my fault. All right. Okay. So, all right. Here's all right. I'll just basically go through the list. So, so as far as like the 40, I would say, as far as like the eastern terminus, it's not going to be able to lay over at SS Park Ride because there isn't a bus loop there anymore. So, there's going to have to be a change on the eastern terminus for the 40. You can either send it to Stemmers Run Road in Mill River, or find another option. But like as far as like SS Park Ride is not going to be able to happen because there isn't a bus loop for the bus to turn around at. That's for the quick lane 40. Let me see the 32. Okay, now as far as like the 32 bus route, I have a bit of a problem with that because I do the C lane yellow. So I'm out of Northwest Division. So I do the C lane yellow pretty much every day. And a lot of my ridership is coming from Patasko, is going into the Patasko branch. So as much as the 32 seem like it will help out because a lot of transfers is occurring at Walmart, a lot of those transfers are resulting because half the crowd is going into the direction of Patasko, going to Lansdowne, Riverview, and into Hillford Industrial Park. And so that's why I'm saying, like, as far as the 32, it would probably make a little more sense because you have the 37 at UMBC, you can have the 37 cover the 32's route, and you can actually just send it to Kaizen. To me, it's like if you understand the 37 to Kaizen and Blind Industries, where the 32 is supposed to be covering the yellows, the UMBC branch of the yellow, just have 37 go to Kaiser and Blind Industries. Oh, my fault. Is it time run out?
You have 1 minute remaining.
Okay, so all right, so the 37 should just go to. I think the 37 should be the one that goes to Kaiser, because you get to save a little bit more on your save the resources, and just add more service to the yellow going to Patasco. Every 15-minute headway, and you keep the same headway for the 37, like every 30 minutes, every hour, or something like that. But except for just creating a brand new route that really isn't going to solve the case, it's just going to add more of an issue. 26 is the distinction is fine. Silver is fine. As far as like the 75 bus route, I would say if you want to get rid of the Parkway Center branch, I would ask RTA if they are willing to take over that Parkway Center portion with their 501 bus route. Otherwise, if there's no real legitimate reason to cut the 75 going into Parkway, going to Parkway Center, that would probably keep it. But if you want to get RTA to do it, it would probably be a better sense, because you still need to route. You need to have some type of service going to that area. And the other stuff I'm just putting written testimony.
We appreciate your testimony, and your 3 minutes are up, but we want to note, if you want to remain on the line, we're happy to return to you after others have provided their testimony, if you'd like to provide additional comments.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, thank you, Marlon. Your microphone will be muted at this time. If there is anyone else who would like to speak and provide testimony, please indicate that you would like to speak by virtually raising your hand. If you've joined via telephone, you can press *9 to raise your hand. And if you've joined online, please use the on-screen prompt, the raise your hand button, to raise your hand. Seeing no other hands raised at this time, given what we had previously noted, I believe we can invite Mr. Marlon Hall to provide additional testimony. At this time, you should be able to unmute your microphone.
All right, you can hear me, right?
We will set you up for another 3 minutes, so go ahead.
Okay. Okay, so as far as like the purple is there, okay, you say no questions. As far as like the purple being short in the City Hall, it's a bit of an issue right now with City Hall terminus, because it's just too many buses in the same layover spot. It's literally like, I think 5 or 6 buses, and considering how many of them is at a certain frequency, the layover at City Hall is congested as it is, and having a purple layover there isn't really the best option unless you're willing to move some of the other bus lines that probably can maybe be extended a little bit further. I mean, you can probably choose, some other bus lines that maybe want to go to Harvey East, but as far as like right now, I would say just keep the purple going to Johns Hopkins until you can find a way to clear out the space at City Hall for the layover, because adding another bus line as frequent as purple is just going to create a whole mess of issues for there. So that's the City Lane purple. Let me see. As far as like, I think I talked about the 26. That's the extension is perfectly fine, so I'm perfectly fine with that. The silver is going to have all trips, so I'm assuming all trips is going to Morgan State now. So that's actually a good idea with that. Let me see. The 103. Yeah, I guess that's all right. It's express route, so I'm not really onto that. But as far as like the 104, this is a little bit of so this is basically a little shot of the dark. I get that the 104 doesn't get the necessary ridership as it probably should be, even for it being an express route. Okay, being express route. But what I would do as far as like the 104, I would say get rid of it, and I will actually go along with getting rid of the 104. But I will actually start thinking about what to do with the 53, because as you see on the map, you got 4 different bus lines kind of tinkering around the same thing along Lock Raven. And above all, the 53 is probably one of the biggest headaches because it's just zigzagging, almost acting as a feeder, but trying to be like an independent ride. So I'm starting to think like maybe that should be the opportunity to have the 53 take over the 104's portion, linking to Johns Hopkins Hospital along Washington Wolf Street, and maybe the possibility of sending down Canton. So you get the riders on that side of town the opportunity to link to Johns Hopkins. You still keep a portion of the 104. You don't have to keep the 104, and then have an option to go to Canton.
So your time is complete, but we appreciate your testimony. Thank you very much. At this time, if there's anyone who would like to provide testimony, please indicate that you would like to speak by virtually raising your hand. If you've joined by telephone, you can press *9 to raise your hand, or if you've joined online, please use the on-screen prompt to raise your hand. At this time, there are no other individuals wishing to provide testimony.
This concludes the list of individuals who are currently in the speaker queue. Let the record show it is now 12:22 p.m. and I hereby recess this hearing until someone wishes to testify or until 2 p.m. when we will adjourn.
At this time, we're currently in a recess, but we wanted to let you know that if you wish to give testimony, you can raise your hand at this time by pressing *9 if joining via telephone. And you can use the on-screen prompt to indicate that you'd like to provide a testimony if you've joined online. At this point, seeing no hands raised, we will remain in a recess. Good afternoon. We are currently in a recess, but if you wish to provide a testimony, please raise your hand by pressing *9 if joining via telephone and using the on-screen prompt if you have joined online. If there's no one who wishes to provide testimony, we will return to a recess, but I will note one more time, if you wish to give testimony at this time, please raise your hand by pressing *9 if joining via telephone or using the on-screen prompt if you have joined online. We do have one individual who would like to provide testimony, so before we begin, there will be some opening remarks.
I'm going to say, let the record show, right? Let the record show it is now 1:11 p.m. I hereby recommence this hearing and will now call for statements from those who have entered the hearing. If you wish to give testimony, please raise your hand by pressing *9 if joining via telephone and using the on-screen prompt if you have joined online. As your name is called, the staff will unmute your line to allow you to speak. Please do not try to unmute yourself.
At this time, I will call on those individuals who have indicated they would like to provide a testimony. Before you begin your testimony, please say and spell your full name and state your zip code for the record. The first individual to provide a testimony will be Gerald Johnson. So shortly, you will be able to unmute, and then you will hear a beep before you begin your testimony. You should be able to unmute at this time. Okay, go ahead. Gerald, you should be able to provide your testimony at this point.
Okay, my name is Gerald Johnson. I live in Sparrows Point, Maryland. My zip code is 21226. I'm trying to see, are they going to change the silver bus lines? When I look at the map, it's kind of confused me about the silver going to be changing.
So at this time, we can't answer any questions, but I will note that the silver line is on the proposed changes.
When I look at the map, online, it says it's supposed to be changing something.
So we can't provide further information at this time, but if you visit the website, there should be information available about the proposed changes.
So what's the meeting? So what is the meeting about?
Today, we are taking testimony on the proposed service changes. So comments on those changes.
So what bus line are y'all changing? I mean, it's a lot of bus lines changing.
There's information posted on the website about the changes.
Let me ask you this question. Are y'all changing the 75 bus line?
We can't provide details about the changes or respond to any questions about the service
I'm trying to see what is y'all doing for MTA problems. I mean, y'all having all these meetings to stop all these public hearings and stuff out. Like, what is the problem?
So I would advise you to call the Transit Information Contact Center for more information.
It's like, when I call MTA, they ain't doing nothing about it either. So why y'all having public hearings and stuff? That's confusing.
The purpose of the hearing is to gather comments on the proposed changes, but this is not a time we're having a discussion about those
So what's the service changes for? What's the service changing?
They can provide more information about the service changes if you call the transit
I
information.
don't get this because I went on the website. Y'all supposed to have like public hearings about the bus changes and stuff. It's confusing.
Well, if you call that number and I could provide it again, they would be happy to
I don't get y'all.
verify for you.
Goodbye. That's why MTA is so terrible because y'all all these light road change and all this.
At this time, your microphone has been muted. Thank you for your call. If there's anyone else who wishes to provide a testimony at this time, we invite you to indicate you'd like to speak by raising your hand. You can either do that by using the on-screen prompt, or if you're calling by a telephone, press *9 to raise your hand. The individuals who've indicated they'd like to speak by raising their hand have provided testimony today. So at this time, there are no additional individuals wishing to provide testimony.
This concludes the list of individuals who are currently in the speaker queue. Let the record show it is now 1:16 p.m. and I hereby recess this hearing until someone wishes to testify or until 2 p.m. when we will adjourn. Good afternoon again. Let the record show it is now 2 p.m. and this concludes this public hearing. Thank you to all who participated in this hearing. The comments you provided are valuable and will be considered when making final decisions. Have a great day and good afternoon. Thank you.